Holiday PSA from DSW. This is your reminder that shoes are a gift, literally. So unwrap something good, like boots that inspire your next big adventure, or cozy slippers that give you an excuse to stay in, or sneakers that feel like pure joy. Because shoes aren't just shoes, they're exactly what you wanted. Let us surprise you so you can surprise them. Find shoes that get you and everyone on your list at prices that get your budget. At DSW stores or DSW.com.
And now it's time for No Pucks Given with Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin scoops, locker room buzz, and straight-up analysis. No fluff, all hockey. Now, here's Dan.
Alrighty, it is the No Pucks Given episode. We'll make it up and say 43. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms and the Odyssey Podcast Network, Sportsnaut, and so many other places. Get this podcast wherever you get yours. This show, I'm doing it later Sunday evening. It's been a whirlwind day. Obviously, stories in the morning. We get those up for readers on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Get to the arena by 1 o'clock. Find out Dan Muse is going to start. Sergey Murashov, Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak still not through their immigration and visa process. Okay, game at 3 o'clock. All hell breaks loose in the game. For the second time in 2 days, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they don't just squander a late lead. No. The Penguins are far too good to do something boring like that. I mean, they've been there, done that. No, the Penguins squander a 3-goal lead on Sunday. I know. They did a 4-goal lead on Saturday, so they didn't really top themselves. But the fallout after the game was, to me, pretty extraordinary. We're going to have the locker room audio for those of you on the podcast side, and we've got the locker room video for those of you on the video side. Because we're going to really dig in to this issue on today's show or this week's show. We're going to talk about these blown late leads. Because it's at first it was the extra attacker. The last couple of days, the extra attacker contributed, but there was much more to it. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about, I think, the goaltending situation, the big picture of it. I apologize for knocking the microphone over. I have it propped up a little bit so that we get a little bit better sound. We're going to talk about the goaltending situation, sort of in the big picture sort of things. But also I want to get to the micro of Sergei Murashov, because I think there is a lot of hope, a lot of, I don't want to call it incorrect, but I think there's a lot of transferred optimism onto him, and he deserves it. He certainly has earned it, but maybe it's a little bit misplaced at the wrong time. We're going to talk about that, and I'm sure I'll think of something in the meantime. I think we should probably talk about expectations and where the Penguins go from here. I've never seen a team with a 14-8-9 record. That's absolutely unbelievable. Certainly, if you think back to how the Penguins have played this season, they should probably have 20 wins. No joke. They should be maybe 28 and, let's do the math, 28-4, or I guess 5, 28-5. That would be a whole different kettle of fish as we talk. I'm recording this late Sunday night. You'll hear it on Monday for the first time. The Penguins are off on Monday. I don't know that they'll break any news, although there is one call-up I'm wondering if they will go to. I don't think so. Not yet. But they're getting close. So let's dive in to the lost leads. And I thought Erik Karlsson was entirely astute. I really like talking to Karlsson because he's unvarnished. He just says it. He thinks it. He says it. It's not always what everybody else would want him to say. In fact, I think Sunday night, maybe it wasn't what Coach Dan Muse would have wanted to hear one of his players say. But that's why I like him. And it's not just off the cuff, willy-nilly. He's thought about these things. He feels these things. He ponders them, and he delivers them. So here is Erik Karlsson in the locker room after the Penguins lose Sunday to the Utah Mammoth 5-4 in overtime after a 3-0 lead.
Honest, I think we tried today. I think we try to play the right way. We try to have the intensity, and it was more a case of they beat us today and scored the goals. We didn't beat ourselves as much, which is a good sign. But then again, situations like this, sometimes confidence plays a big role, and obviously right now we're lacking that, and we got to find a way quickly to try and get that back. Because early on in the season, I think we did a great job, playing with lead, and somehow we have kind of fallen away from that, and a lot of it has to do with how you're feeling out there when they score that first one, and I think that's just a mindset that we got to be able to control in here if we want to be a good team.
Carl, when you were holding those leads early in the season, was it because you were being aggressive because you stayed on the other guys?
Yeah, I don't think we worried too much about the outcome. We were just playing hockey,
right.
Staying in the moment. I think now, with the history that we've had here in the past couple of weeks, you start overthinking stuff and you start worrying about the what ifs, and instead of just playing the situation and if they beat you, they beat you. It's going to happen. We're playing against the best players in the world, and we got to remember that we're a part of that group, and we're more than capable than to play with anyone. So I think, like I said, it's more a mindset right now, and the good thing about that is it's controllable. I don't think it has anything to do with systems or X's and O's. I think it's just it's within ourselves, and we got to find a way to regain that trust, individually and as a team.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Did you hear that? Overthinking, regain trust. Those are big things. That is not insignificant in any way, shape, or form. That is, I think, fundamental to a team to be successful. If you're out there, especially hockey, if you're out there thinking you're a step slow, you're timid, you're tentative, you're everything that you don't want to be. The Penguins had Utah where they wanted them. I mean, they dominated. Who did they lose to on Saturday? Honest to God, I literally just completely blanked on the Saturday game. That's the amazing thing. The San Jose Sharks. The Penguins were out shooting San Jose 34 or 36, and they changed the number to 13. And then they just collapsed in 10 minutes, 11 minutes in the third period. And they gave up 3 goals in 7 minutes on Sunday. And I have to tell you, I mean, Sergei Murashov was not a help to them in the third period, but their gaps were awful. They were not bodying up people. They were skating around. It was just lax and loose and scared hockey that they were playing. And they got kind of what they deserved. I hate to say it that way, but if you play that poorly, you're going to get burned in the NHL. And they got 1 goal. 15 seconds later, they got a second. That was when they got the second goal so quickly, the bench just deflated. That third goal was absolutely a matter of time. And they got that not long later. I guess we can talk about the goalie challenge. I don't know. Dan Muse, to me, had a better than 50% chance of winning it. No worse than 50%. People were like, oh, Muse was an idiot. He never should have challenged that goaltender interference. Why? Just because the NHL has no clue what their own rule means and has the most inconsistent application of that rule in all of sports. The only thing, actually, I shouldn't say all of sports, the only thing worse than the nebulous cluelessness of the goaltender interference is traveling in the NBA. The only thing worse is traveling, or the lack of traveling calls in the NBA. Other than that, the goaltender interference, you have no idea from day to day, game to game, within the game, what it is and what it isn't. It amazes me that even the referees, I don't even think they care anymore. They're like, you know what? I want this goal to stand. I think it should have been a goal. And to heck with the contact that may have occurred, or, the nuances of the rule or whatnot. They really do just like, he should have fought through that. And they call it a goal. 4-3. Power play goal follows that. Sidney Crosby in the locker room as well. I think you'll be able to hear in Sid's voice the emotion that I'm going to tell you about. I don't envy Sidney Crosby. I get to go home after a game. I don't really care if they won or lost. I care about my story, my connection with you, and how I delivered the news and the stories that day. My job ends when I've delivered them. Their job doesn't end after the game. It really doesn't. This is a life for them. And they take these 60-minute games just about like life or death. So when Sidney Crosby is sitting there surrounded by like 8 media people, ready to fire questions at him, for which there are no answers, by the way. There are no easy answers to what the hell is going on. And I think you hear that in Sid's voice. So here's Sidney Crosby in the locker room Sunday.
But just with that said, what could you guys have done differently in that final 20 minutes?
I mean, a couple of bounces. I mean, you still got to find a way to earn your bounces. I don't think overall, we had our best today, but we still had enough to get a win, and unfortunately we didn't do that.
What's the message in the room right now, just with how these losses are piling up right now?
I mean, we just got to find a way to get over the hump. We've done enough to win games, and just haven't closed it out. So I think we just need some plays that are gonna do that. So those can be a lot of different things, but we gotta get through a game here. We have a lead and close it out.
So what was Utah able to do to limit shot opportunities today?
I think they were doing a good job through the neutral zone, just slowing us down, not letting us get to a forecheck. But I mean, I don't know how many power plays they had. That always helps too. I thought, we had to kill a lot. Our kill did a pretty good job, but I think just combination of the neutral zone and then probably special teams probably had something to do with that.
Sid, you mentioned physically with a couple of things. Mentally, what do you guys need to do to kind of get over that hump? And do you feel like it's in your guys' heads?
I think with it happening a couple times right this week, I think that definitely today it was something that, just the same thing pretty much happened yesterday. So I think it was in the back of our mind for sure, but I don't think that affected how we approached it. I thought that we approached it okay. I thought, like I said, a couple of those pucks end up bouncing around their tape, and one hits Sergei's shaft of his stick. I mean, sometimes that's how it goes. And like I said, we need some plays that are gonna, not allow those bounces to be the difference. So those can come in a lot of different forms. So I think we just got to stick together and find a way to get over it.
All right. Did you catch that the last 10 or 15 seconds there of what Sid said? Did you understand what he just said? Did you put sort of the context of that together? Tell you what, we are going to take a quick break here on the Odyssey Podcast Network, and I'm going to come back. We're going to explain what Sid actually just said and why it's incredible.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because, let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
Important for, in the context of where this team is right now. On the video side, we'll keep going. But on the podcast side, we take the break right now on No Pucks Given. Okay, so welcome back. For those of you on the podcast side, welcome back, and thanks for letting us pay a few bills. What Sidney Crosby said there before the break is, we need a puck. We need a bounce here or a bounce there. We need to get those for ourselves. What he's kind of saying is we need something to feel good about. We need that little bit of luck. We need that crazy bounce to go our way. That's how far down their confidence is. They're hoping for just a little something to pick up their spirits. And now, you older Penguins fans, I feel like you almost have to be old, but I go back to 1991, early March. Some of you are going, what? I wasn't born for 10 or 15 years yet. I get you. Just hang on with me. March of 1991, the Penguins were, well behind the New York Rangers in what used to be the Patrick division. It basically has become the Metropolitan division. But there was just a fizzy, there was something going on with that Mario Lemieux, Kevin Stevens, Mark Recchi, Paul Coffey, Tom Barrasso, Larry Murphy, Ulf Samuelsson team. Oh, by the way, Ron Francis too. They got one of the craziest bounces I've ever seen. Kevin Stevens dumps the puck in, bounces off the backboards. Hall of Fame goalie Mike Richter goes to play it, kind of turns his shoulders, to the end wall. The puck takes a crazy bounce, hits him, and goes in. Penguins go nuts. They ran the table. They stormed the New York Rangers for the rest of the month, win the division, obviously go on to win the franchise's first Stanley Cup. Now, there were a couple other magical moments in that cup run, Frankie Pietrangelo, the save, and so on and so forth. But it started with that crazy hop off of Mike Richter. Sidney Crosby just basically prayed to the hockey gods for one of those bounces, something, anything, because they don't have any answers. Why do Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson, why have they made these awful mistakes in the final minute of the last week? Why does the team come out in the third period expecting to lose? Why did Artyom Shelyov kick a few rebounds right to the very wrong place? Why did Sergei Murashov do the very same thing Sunday? These are all things that just deflate a team. Now, if I would tell you the Penguins have points in 9 of their last 11 games, you'd think they were running away with the division. Problem is, those all except a few have been loser points. And I guess they're treading water in the playoff race. Their playoff odds are still like 54%. Because these points do count, single as they may be. All right. I wanted to play you the inside of the Penguins locker room, so you could also get a feel. Did you just hear the hollowness of Sidney Crosby's words? I mean, we're all asking him questions, and there's no possible answer. If it were a simple X's and O's fix, well, we need our F3 really to come into the slot with a little more vigor, be a little more aggressive. Partly that's on Brian Rust, and partly that's on Kevin Hayes on that line. And, Tommy Novak there isn't that, little tweak or fix. Now, I do think this slide did start with a little bit of a schematic flaw, and opponents got to control the puck around their net with the extra attacker. I think that was part of it. But now we're just full-blown catastrophe at this point. I mean, FEMA is sending trucks now to the Penguins. It's, I don't know if they've hit rock bottom. They are in a spiral. Okay, topic number 2 here on the No Pucks Given. And by the way, I don't always dress this way at home. I literally, from arena, I left the arena at 8 o'clock. I'm supposed to be at the TV station at 8. And I left the arena at 8 o'clock, get there to record the Final Word episode that aired Sunday night, 11:30, 11:35, or whenever the football game ended. Hopefully you watched it. A lot of times you can catch it on the WPXI website. I've stopped putting it on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now site because my little tiny beef with all of Pittsburgh media establishment, or the establishment media, all of it, is it so badly undervalues hockey. Like, we get to talk about one hockey topic, then we spend 20 minutes talking Steelers. It drives Dan a little nuts. Drives Dan just a little nuts. Because I think the Penguins are a far more interesting story than Mike Tomlin's Steelers. I digress. Topic number 2, let's talk goaltending. If I had said to you back in August that trading Tristan Jarry would hamper the Pittsburgh Penguins' playoff chances, what would you have said to me? You probably would have laughed. But here we are. The Penguins traded their best goalie in exchange for a struggling goalie. I don't care if he's been to 2 Stanley Cup finals or not. He's a struggling goalie. And this is why Edmonton and Stuart Skinner felt like he needed a change. Because every time he had a couple of bad games, all of those questions and all the negatives from the public, from the media, maybe from the inside of the team, I don't know, were there. All those insecurities all around him were present. So it was better for him to have a change of scenery. And Kyle Dubas kind of tipped his hand as someone who was not necessarily fully on board or fully buying that Tristan Jarry was a changed goaltender. Basically, what Dubas did was sort of twofold, or what Dubas said through his actions was twofold. One, I'm selling Tristan Jarry while I can. And Tristan Jarry knew it was coming. Part of the story I was writing before the trade broke, literally as the trade broke, was that Jarry was telling people about a timeline in which he expected a trade. We had some sources talking to us Friday morning, and then lo and behold, Edmonton sort of buckled on the price, gave the Penguins what they want, and the trade gets done. Tristan Jarry essentially played his way off the Penguins, and he wanted to go to Edmonton. That's where that was his choice. So it all came together there. The other thing that Kyle Dubas sort of said through the trade was that, hey, it's great that the Penguins are in a playoff position, but that still doesn't supersede the building for the future. And by trading Tristan Jarry, Dubas cleared the deck for next season. So anytime between now and then, Stuart Skinner, Artyom Shelovs, Sergei Murashov and even Joel Blomqvist will have a chance to claim the Penguins' net. Go back a couple of weeks ago to Pittsburgh Hockey Now, and I was kind of analyzing the situation, trying to make a case to keep Sergei Murashov when he played his 4 games a month ago, that the situation was not going to fix itself because Shelovs is a restricted free agent for the next 2 off seasons. So the Penguins have team control there. And Tristan Jarry was going to have 2 more seasons with his contract at $5.375 million. So if those 2 were to continue to play at a certain level, the Penguins were stuck, potentially eating a whole lot of money on Jarry's contract, or what do you do with Shelovs, selling him sort of on the cheap? It was not a good situation. So by making that trade, Dubas made that change. Now, if Shelovs doesn't come through for the rest of the season, and he's got 1 win in his last 10 appearances and 6 extra time losses. And I would say he was rough on Saturday. Although the Shelovs fans were coming at me left and right, showing me the few saves he made on a few breakaways. I'm like, that's great. He also allowed a 60-foot wrist shot goal, a 45-foot clapper to make it 5-4. And the tying goal, he served a pizza right into the slot. That puck gets put back in your net 7, 8 of 10 times. That rebound has to be controlled. So of the 5 goals San Jose got in regulation, I hung 3 on Shelovs, and I understand he made some breakaway saves. Goalies are allowed to do that, So Shelovs is still, for me, at best, even. His save percentage is down around .890 at this point, and give or take a couple of points either way, depending on his performance, which isn't good enough. So if he does not demand to be in the NHL through his play, now you look at the other 3. Stuart Skinner, who's a free agent after this season, which opens up a door or a ton of possibilities that Dubas, can go through a checklist. If he doesn't work out, hey, thanks for coming. Appreciate you trying. Good luck to you. If he's pretty good, now the situation with Shelovs affects Skinner. If Shelovs claims a spot, now you really have a choice. Okay, what do we do with Skinner? Do we trade him? Do we re-sign him? It becomes sort of the Penguins' choice at that point. At least until July 1st anyway. Or third, they trade him. If he's playing well, you've got this great trade chip, right? So there's a lot that Kyle Dubas has set himself up to do by trading Tristan Jarry. Unfortunately, what none of it does is make the Penguins a significantly better team today. And that was the interesting part about the trade, because Murashov has work to do. You saw that work. You saw some of the rough edges on Sunday. And, there is not a guarantee that Skinner works out. There's 50-50 at best, maybe less than 50-50. I mean, I hear you. I hear you guys who want Skinner to work out, who say, well, he's playing behind a terrible Edmonton defense. And listen, things aren't getting any better in Pittsburgh, at least in the third period. The Penguins are great for 40, 45 minutes. Oh, let me tell you something. But then the chaos begins. So a goalie's going to have to just figure it out and survive in that sort of choppy waters, those sort of choppy waters. If I'm betting you, I know you're going to ask me, well, Dan, what's going to happen? I don't have a crystal ball on this to figure out goaltending. I will tell you that I know that goaltending vexes Kyle Dubas. not this situation specifically. The position in general vexes Kyle Dubas because it's so hard to quantify. He said, he kind of admitted that Friday morning when he talked to us, the volatility in the goaltending profession. And you look at all the choices he's made, guys who were on their way up, guys on the way. He's gotten unexpected performances from so many different goalies. Jack Campbell claims the net and then goes in the tank in Toronto. Trades for Matt Murray. And Murray kind of went straight into the tank for Toronto. Freddie Anderson on his way up, looking like a guy figuring it out in his 30s, and meltdown. How many other goaltenders did he go through up there? Was Freddie his last one, or was Samsonov his last sort of? You get the picture, right? Comes to Pittsburgh, looks around, signs Tristan Jarry. Jarry was soft.
Holiday PSA from DSW. This is your reminder that shoes are a gift, literally. So unwrap something good, like boots that inspire your next big adventure, or cozy slippers that give you an excuse to stay in, or sneakers that feel like pure joy. Because shoes aren't just shoes, they're exactly what you wanted. Let us surprise you so you can surprise them. Find shoes that get you and everyone on your list at prices that get your budget. At DSW stores or DSW.com.
In 2023. Was that not one of his all-star years? Struggles in the second half, but their choice, Jonas Korpisalo or Tristan Jarry. So Dubas flies to Edmonton, meets with Jarry, says, okay, I trust this guy, at least as much as I can trust a goaltender. They give him a 5-year deal. It wasn't what anybody in the Penguins organization really wanted, but it's what they had to do because their alternative was to sign a sieve for 4 years. So they get Jarry for 5. And Jarry has a meltdown. There's the volatility. And this is why I know that goaltending drives Kyle Dubas just batty. Because, in his mind, Stuart Skinner has as much chance to succeed for the rest of the season as did Jarry. Because there's no number that you can look at that really predicts future performance for most goalies. Now, there are a handful around the league, obviously, the Shesterkins and the Sorokins and the Vasilevskis. But even they, I guess, except for Vasilevsky, even Shesterkin was down last year. And Sorokin's had some, he's really good, don't get me wrong, but his numbers have been sort of oscillating back, up and down, back and forth, vacillating between 905 and 920 and over the last few seasons. That's the interesting thing about this whole goaltending thing. And that's, I think, what made it sort of easier for Kyle Dubas to make the trade is that he just doesn't trust goalies. If you're not one of the handful of guys who are just beyond or above reproach, Dubas doesn't trust you. All right, that's the goaltending talk here. I will tell you this about Murashov. He's ready-ish. Sergei Murashov is ready for the NHL, but maybe not for a playoff team. What I mean by that is you saw the rough edges on Sunday, which sort of mirrored his last start in the NHL, which was against Seattle a month ago, in which he was good, made some good saves, but you saw some things he could have done better. He's still learning. He's still growing. The question the Penguins really have to answer with Murashov: will he learn those lessons better by playing some time in the NHL, going back to the AHL to work on them, kind of like a workshop, right? Or if he's better off taking lumps and the team is better off long-term with him taking those lumps now, and maybe they lose a few games as they did Sunday when he serves a few pizzas, bakes a few cookies, and hands them out. It's a question that, to be honest, is a bit above my pay grade. I'd like to tell you I know what they're going to do or what they should do and offer you all kinds of insights and analytics or, rock solid examples, but there really isn't on this one. This is going to be one of those trial and error sort of things. I think when Skinner is healthy, or not healthy, through immigration, I think they send Murashov down. Obviously, they let him work on what he has learned with the Shelovs situation sort of floating above all of it. That he has to be better. If Shelovs can't perform up to NHL standards, then you do try. You try Murashov in the NHL. Although, listen, maybe they try Joel Blomqvist one more time or two more times. Don't forget about that guy. The Penguins haven't forgotten about him. Maybe we all have, but they haven't. Okay, topic number 3 here on No Pucks Given, and that is, where do the Penguins go from here? Soul crushed, confidence flattened, hemorrhaging points, yet still kind of hanging on to a playoff spot. Really, this is going to come down to what Kyle Dubas sees. Does he see this team in the first, let's say, 50 minutes of a game, first 40, 50, that can dominate good opponents and say, okay, if I can fortify these guys a little bit, if I can nibble at the edges and affect real change in a positive way, maybe we can do some damage in the playoffs. Or I can at least give them a reasonable chance without sacrificing any of the plans for the future. Does he say that? Or is this absolutely irrelevant to Kyle Dubas's day-to-day thinking? My thought after Friday and trading Tristan Jarry is that the ups and the downs, the ebbs and the flows of the Penguins' on-ice performance is irrelevant to Kyle Dubas's mission. Sure, as a player rises and their trade value rises, as it did with Jarry, it might accelerate some thinking to move a veteran. Rickard Rakell starts filling the net, and a team says, all right, I'll give you that high price. Here's your first in the prospect or whatnot. Okay. If Brian Rust, if the Detroit Red Wings are high in the Atlantic Division and, we get to January, February, and the Red Wings are like, all right, it's go time. All right, Kyle. All right, we got you. Here's what you wanted. That sky-high, ridiculous price for Brian Rust, here you go. Now, I don't think the Red Wings would actually do that because the Red Wings are stodgy in terms of what they spend on the trade market. Really stodgy. Steve Yzerman just doesn't like to do that. He also is he's been terminally building a team up there. I think he enjoys the building more than anything else, and he hasn't accelerated anything yet. But I'm just using that as a hypothetical. I think Dubas would do that. I think Dubas would make those deals because he is worried more about 27, 28 than today. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I tend to think he's still caught a little bit here. I mean, Ben Kindle, Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen, Sergei Murashov. I don't know about Owen Pickering. I just have the weird feeling that you're going to see him involved in a trade more than you're going to see him involved in the Penguins' top 6. That's just my reading on that situation. Not that I've heard anything. I think you'll see Tristan Brose in the lineup, although there again, the 2 Hextall picks, are having trouble getting NHL time for whatever it's worth. But they're there. They're in the organization. And I think when called upon, Bros would be a solid bottom six center. When, of course, called upon to do so. I don't think you're going to be very happy. I think you are going to want one or the other. Fortify the team and make them better, or blow it up. I don't sense a whole lot of nuance or gray area with a lot of you. And you're going to have to kind of accept that's where the Penguins rebuild is going to live, is in that gray area. It'll be let the team do what it can, keep building for the future. Sign players like Brazeau and Wotherspoon and Shea, and down the line, Caleb Jones. Acquire a Matt Dumba when you get a second-round pick in return. Throw them on the ice. Let the coach sort them out and let the chips fall where they may, while Dubas continues the building process. I think
Holiday PSA from DSW. This is your reminder that shoes are a gift, literally. So unwrap something good, like boots that inspire your next big adventure, or cozy slippers that give you an excuse to stay in, or sneakers that feel like pure joy. Because shoes aren't just shoes, they're exactly what you wanted. Let us surprise you so you can surprise them. Find shoes that get you and everyone on your list at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
We're going to see that sort of dichotomy for another year or more even, because I mean, who knows where they're going to wind up in the 2026 draft. The way this is going, the bottom can fall out of this team. It really is possible. I don't think it has. I thought it did a few weeks ago when Toronto just shellacked them 7-2. But it turns out they had a lot more fortitude than I thought. But this whole lead blowing thing, this is kind of crazy. This has the chance to just wreck a team. So maybe they will be prominently featured in draft lottery talk. I maybe another week. By early January, we probably will know. I think by the holiday break, usually we're going to know where the die is cast. If not by then, by mid-January, because at that point, the team will have played more than 40 games. Their 40th game this year is incredible. It's January 3rd. That's also when they have to make the Harrison Brunick decision, by the way. We didn't even talk about that. All right. I think I have brought as much of the inside of the Penguins as I can to you in a podcast. They're in a bad way. And there's not much more I can say. I'd like to be eloquent or more insightful, but really the tender heart in a blender. Going to spin around to that beautiful, beautiful oblivion. That is it for No Pucks Given. I want to thank my producer there at Sportsnaut, Scott. Poor Scott had to cover. Now, Scott is a Raiders podcaster and former Raiders reporter. He got his first real taste of Kenny Pickett on Sunday. Kenny Pickett making his first Raiders start, and the Raiders offense, I think Pickett had 65 yards passing. And with the 4 sacks, he took minus 35 yards. Yeah, it was a brutal day. So Scott got his first taste of the dump and duck of Kenny Pickett. Folks, I appreciate you. Like, share, set up your downloads as we do more of these. I think we'll do a live chat on Wednesday. I think I'll be able to do that. I might have to do it from the car on the way to Montreal. We'll see how that all shakes out. I hate driving to Montreal. That drive to Montreal is just soulless. You get past Buffalo, which is no prize. I mean, I apologize, Buffalo. Then you go through Rochester and Syracuse and then upstate New York, and there's nothing for 3 hours until you hit like the Thousand Islands. And the Thousand Islands is where there's like these big rock formations in the middle of the highway. And I swear they were left there so that the police can hide. And they all know that we're all using Waze for no reason whatsoever. I kid you not on this. And I think Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, Chevy Chase did a movie about this in like the mid 90s, early 90s. John Candy was maybe in it too. Where they basically get arrested for speeding in this little town in upstate New York. And I'm pretty sure it was right there. And they basically get shanghaied in this town because the magistrate won't let them go for a few days. There'll be like just 6 cops sitting behind the rocks. I've seen this firsthand a couple of times, and they're all on Waze deleting themselves. Delete, 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 delete. So that when I go zipping through, and I know to be careful. I'm going 45 miles an hour exactly, and I stare them down as I go past. Like, go ahead. You have nothing on me. But the poor tourists, heading up to Canada who don't know that they're about to, cage goes in the water, shark goes in the water. Our shark. They're about to go right into the teeth of this, and you just see sirens just pulling people over all day. I don't think those people in New York pay taxes in that town. There can be no taxes. They just take all their revenue from speeding. I'm telling stories you didn't care about. That's the end of No Pucks Given. I guess have fun.
DSW, birthplace of the humble brag. Here, the shoes are so good, no one would ever know how little you paid. If you didn't go telling everyone, that is. And with never-ending options for every style, mood, and occasion, all at really great prices, we'll definitely give you something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands, or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.